In this session of the Purple Coffee Podcast, I talked to Jaime Tardy about going viral with that amazing blog post of yours and how it's not always a great thing. Welcome to session 12 of the Purple Coffee Podcast, inspiring stories from creative entrepreneurs. I am your host, Turndog, and in today's session I speak to the wonderful Jaime Tardy, who goes by the name of the Eventual Millionaire. If you've not heard of Jaime before, then shame on you. And once you've finished watching or listening to this podcast, you should head over to her site and check out her many interviews with many millionaires. Oh yes, Jaime's job is onefold. It's to introduce you to the millionaires of the world, and only millionaires. How she connects with all these wonderful people, I have no idea. It's a secret she keeps close to her chest. But she podcasts every week, and the content she shares on her website is insane. So be sure to check that out. I was lucky enough to interview Jaime, and we spoke about her great mistake, which is for my own book, The Successful Mistake. And it's an issue that I think is pretty close to most people's heart these days. Chances are, as you watch or listen to this, you are a blogger or videographer of some kind, and you create content that you share online. Ultimately, you hope it goes viral, so whether it gets shared through the social media masses or a news corporation like a Mashable or Huffington Post pick it up, you want what you create to go big. And zoom off into the internet ether and just build up and build up until you're a superstar, or whatever happens after that. I have no idea. But the aim is to go viral, because that brings opportunities. Just imagine all those eyes coming and seeing the content you create, all those new subscribers, those people want you to work for them. But going viral has its downsides, and that's exactly what I discuss with Jaime. She too, as a blogger, creates amazing articles, and one day, while she was still relatively small, Yahoo picked it up and she was thrown in front of millions of viewers, which is a fantastic thing, of course. But her site couldn't handle it and it ultimately crashed. So it begs the question, do you go all out and get the best hosting can buy in the hope that one day you do go viral and maybe spend thousands of dollars each year where it's not really worthwhile in the beginning? Or do you go for cheap and cheerful and build up over time? I don't have the answer, but I'm sure you'll pick up some tips once you listen to my interview with Jaime, because it didn't just happen to her once. Oh no, it happened twice. Repeating the same mistake, Jaime. Tut, tut, tut. But I emphasise because I'm pretty sure I would make that same mistake 3 or 4 times. Yeah. So I'm going to go straight into the interview now and share Jaime's fine words, because it's something I'm sure you will love and take a lot from. Like I say, we all want to go viral, but it isn't the be-all and end-all, and you certainly need to take steps, and precautionary steps at that, to make sure you are ready for it when it does come, which of course it will. We all have our 50 minutes of fame at some point, right? But you may want to know a little more about this Jaime Tardy individual. So I've created a little bit of a bio in a way only I can. I've made some notes on the old iPhone, so I shall read that to you now. To start with, let's say it as it is. Jaime is a far better interviewer than moi. That's what happens when you chat to one millionaire after another. In fact, Jaime's little black phone book is so valuable. Rumour has it it's insured for more money than all of her guests' income combined. Does that make sense? Nope. But that's what happens when you make something up on the spot. What does make sense is Jaime's wonderful approach to interviewing, writing, and helping the entrepreneurial world stride forward with confidence. Oh yes, that makes a whole host of sense. So, I'm delighted to pass you over to the girl herself, Jaime Tardy. Dog Talks to. I'm here and delighted to be joined by Jaime Tardy, who is going to be probably judging me as I do this, because she's also a bit of an interviewer and an author. But she's been blogging and interviewing entrepreneurs and very, very successful people for around 2 to 3 years now. So I thought it'd be interesting to get her thoughts on the successful mistake, how she's approached mistakes and overcome them. So Jaime, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Matthew. I appreciate it.
I'm very nervous right now. I'm going to try and get my A game on and make sure I don't sort of make any mistakes. Because I think this is the first time
No mistakes.
No mistakes. I think this is the first time I've interviewed someone who's generally an interviewer. So I can already
I know
see
how hard
them
that
judging
is.
us.
I do.
Yeah.
I interviewed Andrew Warner and was like, I really hope you're not judging me because you're better than I am. So don't worry, I won't judge. No judgment here.
Okay, that's good. Well, to start things off, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do in your world.
So when I walk up to someone at a networking event or anything and they ask me what I do, I say I interview millionaires, and that usually stops the conversation dead for a little bit. But I've had a blog. It's called Eventual Millionaire, and I've interviewed coming up on 100. I've got 90 so interviews with people that have a net worth of $1 million or more that are in business, because I'm a business coach. I love business, and so I want to try and find out from them what they've done to make them successful, or what they've done that hasn't made them so successful. That way we can learn from them too.
Absolutely. And I came across you because I was searching, as I do most mornings, for various entrepreneurs, and I came across your site, and it's just a hub of these amazing inspirational figures, and I thought, wow, this is a girl I need to speak to. And you must have learnt so much over the last few years interviewing these people. I only know because I've learnt so much in the last 3 or 4 months from doing exactly that.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Not only learning like the content from them, because what I'll do is I'll go back through all the transcripts and sort of try and boil it down into specific things that they say, which is really interesting. Like, I know what they say about how they set goals. I know what they say on how they keep consistent and what's important to them and that sort of thing, which is really cool. But the biggest thing that I found, which is going to be cool for you too, is the networking aspect, and to know the people instead of just, getting their information, but like they're friends now. I have such an amazing network of people that I can go and reach out to. It's ridiculous. So us interviewers have a one up on some things. It's really easy to build your network.
I have to say, it was definitely one of the sort of strong reasons why I thought this project is perfect, even if it only sells like 3 copies, because the amount of people I will meet and the things that I will learn along the way is just incredible. And so far I've been on rare occasion I've been right. It's not often I'm right, but I am on this occasion. It's been a superb process so far, and I'm excited to keep it going. So you're on the other side of it today, which is probably a different side for you because you're used to being on my end. So I want you to think about the mistakes that you've made, one maybe in particular that stands out, and what happened. Tell us the tale around it and how you overcame it and became this interviewer of millionaires.
Well, okay, I'm gonna say this mistake, and it hurts really bad when I talk about it because it was really dumb because it happened twice, and I didn't. Yeah, okay. So when you need to be smart enough to fix things as you go, and I didn't, which is why it's not very.
Third time's the charm, though.
Third time worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is me being a little stupid. But I didn't know, so it's okay. It was the previous me. Now I'm so much smarter because of it. So when I started my blog, it was called Eventual Millionaire. I was just doing it to learn how to blog, to try and figure this thing out, because it's sort of a whole big new thing. And I'm a geek. I have a degree in IT. I knew all that sort of stuff, but I didn't know like what worked best and what didn't. So I blogged for about 6 months. And I was about to throw in the towel. So I was a business coach beforehand, and I did business coaching locally. I was trying this online thing because I'm from Maine and it's small here. And I was hoping to get online to make a bigger difference. And I only work 20 hours a week. So like traveling to clients and stuff was kind of a pain. I was hoping I could do it all from my home office. And so I started the blog, got pretty much nothing for 6 months of like really working it and really trying. And I had, maybe like 800 subscribers or something like that at the time. And I told my mentor, I was like, I'm going to have to give this up. This is a little ridiculous. I'm spending so much time and not really getting a lot of rewards back. But everybody had said, stick it out for 6 months and see how it goes. So I did. I think it was like 3 days after I talked to my mentor, I, for some reason, couldn't email my subscribers and say I'm done. Like I, for some reason, was hesitant. And after that 3rd day, I got an email from CNN that said they would like to feature me. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't tell everybody I was done then. And so it was really funny. So it worked out where I was on their website. They did a whole, I also paid off a ton of debt, which is why I sort of talk about Eventual Millionaire. We've paid off $70,000 in debt. CNN really liked that story. So they had me on their site at first, and then as soon as that came out, they wanted me on their TV show, CNN Newsroom. So I was on the TV show, and then a couple days after that, this was all within a span of a week. A couple days after that, my face was on the homepage of Yahoo. No idea.
Wow.
One of my old high school friends was like, "Your face is on the homepage of Yahoo." I was like, "What? This is crazy." So that was sort of a big thing, right? And I had prepped for like CNN, which I got some good traffic for, but I hadn't prepped for at all the level of, face homepage of Yahoo, second site in the whole entire world with my face really big on it. And so my site crashed big time,
Yeah.
huge. And so, which makes sense, right? And there wasn't much I could do. I had a shared hosting plan, and I'm the geek, remember? I used to work at a network operations center and work on this stuff. So I should have known a little bit more because it went down when I was on CNN too for a short period of time. But I was like, that's not that big of a deal. When am I ever going to get this level of press again? You know? So that's funny because so it went down for days. Finally got it back up. I realized how much I had missed. I would have a lot of really great opportunities could have come because of that. The other thing is though is that I didn't sell anything at the time. I sold my business coaching, and I did get a couple of interested clients, but that's pretty much it. Like I didn't have anything to sell to anyone at the time. And I thought I would like make it as soon as this happened. And that wasn't the case at all either. But the funny thing is that like all that happened and I got to use that as credibility, especially as a new blogger and all that fun stuff. And I didn't ever think it would happen again. I mean, I just assumed it wouldn't be that, that level of press seems like it's ridiculously hard to get. And it was sort of like a fluke. Well, it's not, or it wasn't, because just 2 months later, so that was in October, in January, Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine emailed me to do a story on me too. And I was like, sure, great. I did a story for them. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was just the magazine. I love the magazine, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think my site would go down from it because, someone has to read the magazine and then go and actually look up your site. Well, it turns out they're an aggregator for Yahoo also. And so in March, my face was again on the homepage of Yahoo. And again, my site crashed. So bad. And so it was up for about 2 hours because last time I didn't have any metrics, but this time it was up for 2 hours and I got over 8,000 visitors in 2 hours.
Wow.
And then my site went down. My face was on the homepage of Yahoo for over 48 hours while my site was down. And I kept going like 8 times. No, I don't even want to think about how much traffic I could have had.
Wow.
Oh, it hurts. It's stupid. It was my own fault. I could have just upgraded my hosting easily within minutes, probably beforehand. But because I didn't, I lost so much. It's ridiculous. And then people are like pissed. They'd find me on Facebook and be like, your site is down.
Why
I'm
is
like,
your site down?
I know. So I made people mad too, which doesn't help.
We get angry when sites are down. I did it yesterday. There was a site I needed to go on, and I didn't need to properly go on it. I just wanted to, and it was down, and I was like, oh, why is it down? And I think my site goes down often enough. Like,
who do they think that you are? You know what I mean?
But
so funny being on the other end going, ah.
Yeah, like what? I've heard this before though. There was a guy who runs, I don't know if you'll have heard of him, I forget his name, but he runs Impossible. But it's got like a line through it. And he had this amazing story out and it just went viral. Yep. And it was just an everyday story, didn't expect it, and then wham, out of nowhere, he was featured everywhere. And his site, I think, was down for, similar to you, like 2 days, and he had to upgrade his hosting. But it's a tricky one because you don't want to make, especially in the early days, if you're not getting much money in, you don't want to maybe have this full bell and whistles hosting plan where you're paying upwards of, hundreds, and, I know some people do thousands a month for it, because then you're like, I'm not going to get worth. But then you never know when that big moment's going to come.
Well, that's what's so hard about press in general. I've gotten a lot of press since then too, and they don't give you very good heads up.
Wow.
So it's not as though they can, let you know ahead of time to upgrade. So what I do now is I have a VPS, a virtual private server, and you can sort of move around a little bit better. Not to get into all the geeky terms, but when you're on a shared hosting, it's very hard. They have to move you to a whole nother server, which
Mm.
even if they do that, it'll take you down, which is why I was down for so long for that 48 hours. It took a while to actually switch me over to something else and then propagate it. Whereas if I had a VPS, it would have been just changing some of the settings on the VPS instead of changing to a whole new server. So if you have like a virtual private server, and I mean they start out pretty low. I think they're like $60 a month or $70 a
Yeah.
month for starting out. So it's just better. I mean it's not the $8 or $10 shared hosting plan, but if you think you might get press at all, I highly recommend it.
If you're sending articles to Yahoo, make sure you're on a decent plan.
Yeah,
It
that would be
is
smart.
it is tricky though because that is something, and I know we shouldn't overlook things like that if we have a website and our life is built around blogging, and our hope is that thousands and thousands of people will click on it and read what we have to say. But I suppose in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, well, it's probably not going to happen to me. It happens to that person. It's not going to happen to me. I'll always be here, and if I do get there, it'll be gradually over, 5, 6, 7 years. There's just it won't happen to me, but it
Well,
happens to
even
certain people.
well, even after it happened to me, I didn't think it would happen to me. You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh, this will never happen again." My gosh.
You,
Yeah,
you're
no.
too good for your own good, you
I know, right?
right?
I'm too, no. I mean, it is silly the way that it's just silly the way it works that way. But I mean, it was all good, and I don't, it's one of those mistakes where it's like, well, it was a mistake, but I mean, because good things happened. But still, I just need what I learned from that was the ability to sort of plan ahead a little
Yeah.
bit better, to really think forward and to think that things are going to go really well. Because a lot of the times entrepreneurs don't really do that. We think, well, it probably won't work or anything like that. I had never done the contingency plan of, oh, what happens if this goes really big? Because
That's
you
why
don't
you
really
do
think
the
about that very
contingency
much.
plan of what if I need to quit this and then go and get a job at Starbucks, rather than what if this does really, really well and I'm going to have to like
Yeah.
hire employees. What?
Exactly. Well, and a lot of, it's funny, a lot of startups, and I talk to a lot of people, they don't necessarily plan for that. They have big goals, don't get me wrong. They
Yeah.
want all that, but they, like you said, it might take longer. And then their cash flow starts having a big issue because they're growing so fast, they can't, you know what I mean? It doesn't work very well. And then they go through hell. I mean, there are companies that have gone bankrupt because of that, even though they had an amazing company with people willing to buy, they just could not get that working because they grew way too quick. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of issues with that too. We should always sort of plan on that, even if that's something that we don't really think will happen. It's good to think about that ahead of time.
So now, whenever you create a new project or you start something new, are you always thinking, right, let's come up with a few different plans here. This is the plan we're going to do, but let's have a few contingencies, plan ahead. What if this happens? Do you try and, I guess, um, step outside of the box and make yourself a little bit more open-minded what to those things that could happen?
Well, I actually learned, it's funny because I've done that, and I've learned actually from a client of mine the way that he sets up his goal, which I really like. Like I know how the millionaires set up their goals, but the way that this guy does it is just really interesting. So he sets a normal goal, whatever the goal is that he actually wants to reach. And then he sort of sets up the minimum, what I'm willing to be okay with. Because
Mm.
sometimes we set up a goal and we don't hit it, but we're like we're this close and it still feels like you failed. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, even if it was a bit bigger than you wanted, it feels like a failure. So the way he does it is he sets up sort of a minimum. Like, I won't be happy unless I get this. This is my goal because this is important and this is what I actually want to hit. And then this is my stretch goal. So I'm kind of going for that stretch goal
Yeah.
and what would happen if that happens. But, my main goal is this. And it was really neat. Because of the way our brains work, having one sort of set goal and either hitting it or not hitting it and either being happy or not happy.
Yeah.
Um, it just sort of puts a little bit of perspective on it, which I think is cool.
It adds unnecessary pressure, I suppose, but a lot of people don't. And this doesn't just apply for traffic in your sense, but it can apply to cash flow. It can apply to the amount of clients, the amount of people you reach in a month or a year or a decade. You can apply this to anything. We always need goals and aims to go towards, and having that sort of minimum ideal, and yes, that would be amazing, it just makes it a lot easier.
It does. It does. So I'm actually implementing that soon too, because I think that's a big important thing, especially for someone like me who's a perfectionist and wants to do it right. One goal is like, if you don't get it, you feel like you fail, and that sucks. So yeah, that's a new thing that I'm trying out to.
I'm liking it. Well, it sounds like you've learned your lesson, third time lucky, and you are now
Let's
ready.
hope.
You are
Let's
ready
hope.
for Yahoo, and you are ready for WordPress, and you are ready for all of these aggregators who will throw millions of people your way. So hopefully
Yes.
we'll see this third coming of Jamie Tardy on Yahoo. I'll be looking out for it now every time I
I
check
know.
my
Now I'm
emails.
waiting for the triple play. Come on. No, or hat. That's what's called an Hoggy hat trick, right?
Yeah, that's right, actually. Every time I go on Yahoo now, I'm going to be like, is her face there? No,
Yeah,
not
waste
today,
your
maybe
time on.
tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Well, before we go and we end this wonderful interview, if you could just offer one piece of advice to someone just starting out, a young/new entrepreneur, what words would you offer?
Okay, I'm totally going to take the ones of a guy that I just interviewed because I think it's amazing. What he said specifically was, we're so caught up in what we're working on right now. Like this deal that we're doing, this project we're doing, whatever it is, we feel like this is it. But in reality, it's 30, 40, 50 deals throughout your life, And every single one of them is a stepping stone and getting up that ladder more. So we put so much pressure on this one thing that it has to be perfect, which is why we don't want to make mistakes, right?
Yeah,
Because this is it. This is what's going to make it. And it's not about that at all. This is just learning for your next thing, which is just learning for your next thing, which is, makes you the person that you become. And that's really what matters.
I really enjoy that. I love that. Fantastic. And what a fantastic way to end a great interview. So, Jamie, thank you so much for joining me, and viewer, thank you for watching and taking in her words. I'm sure you've taken a great deal from it. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Have a great day.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another session of the Purple Coffee podcast at an end. And what an interview it was with the wonderful and delightful Jamie Tardew. A huge thanks for Jamie for being part of both this podcast and the Successful Mistake, the book I'm currently working on, and a book that has taught me a great deal. I hope it teaches you just as much. And wow, what a story it is. It didn't happen just once, but twice. And as content creators, we all want to go viral. We want people like Mashable and Yahoo and the Huffington Post to pick up our post, send it across their many subscribers and viewers, and for us to just watch as stardom comes back to us. But it's never as simple as that. And if your website can't handle such a load, you may be on Yahoo's homepage for 48 hours, but your site might be down for 40 of them. But it's easy to happen, and it asks the question, where's the balance? Do you spend a lot of money in the beginning, hoping that you do go viral one day? Or do you start small and slowly build yourself up? But if you do the latter, what happens if you do go viral on any given day, which may come as a surprise? It ultimately comes down to the fact that we never know when that post is going to go superstardom. So it's a tough one indeed, and it's something that I think you need to take a little bit of a step back and think, right, how am I going to approach this? And Jamie's advice is all about just setting yourself up and planning. So, thank you so much for joining me in session 12 of the Purple Coffee podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please shout out to me on Twitter or Facebook and let me know what you think. And indeed, I hope you will join us for future sessions of this podcast, and you can do so in a couple of ways. If you like to watch it on your screen, well, you can subscribe to the Vimeo channel. Whereas if you like to listen, maybe on your phone, then the iTunes channel is for you, and I urge you to subscribe to that too. All those details are on the sessions webpage, which you can find at bit.ly/purplecoffee12. 12. So do that, and also consider signing up to the email list and you'll get sent updates before anybody else, and you'll never ever miss this podcast again. Okay, and that's that. Another session at an end, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Top marks to you. You're doing good.